Hello to you, Sir Mark. Thank you for joining us on the programme this morning. Broken, rotten, institutionally racist, misogynistic and homophobic. How did you sleep last night?
This is a very, very worrying report. I returned to policing after a few years out last September, recognising the challenges we face, and I'm resolved that we will reform policing. And I know the vast majority of my people are. This is a very upsetting read. You can't read this report and not be upset, embarrassed and humbled by some of what's been said. The one thing that's heartening in it for me, the evidence in this report comes from the men and women in my organisation who care deeply, who want us to do better, who want us to be different. And it's with my resolve and their resolve that we will reform the culture of the Met and we will do better for the people of London.
Do you accept the full findings of the report?
We accept the findings of the report. As I say, it's deeply worrying.
Sir Mark, do you accept the full findings of the report?
I accept the findings of the report, absolutely.
The full findings of the report?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the point you're making.
You know exactly what I mean, Sir Mark. We're talking about your suggestions that you don't accept that your force is institutionally racist.
I absolutely accept the diagnosis that Louise Casey comes up with. We have racists, misogynists and homophobes in the organisation, and it's not just about individuals. We have systemic failings, management failings and cultural failings. The reason, and I respect Louise using that term, the reason I don't use it, I think it's a very ambiguous term. Your viewers would have different interpretations of what it means.
No,
and
it's very
also
straightforward. I purposefully looked it up, Sir Mark. Sir Mark, if I may, I purposefully looked it up in the dictionary this morning. Institutionally means convention or norm in a culture, and that's what Louise Casey thinks is happening in the Met. You tell me why it's not.
So you've proven my point, I'm sorry to say, because the definition you pulled out is not the one that William McPherson used, it's not the one that Louise Casey uses. Everyone uses different definitions. It's pointless arguing about definitions. We have a real problem here. We have misogyny, homophobia and racism in the organisation, and we're going to root it out. I've already grown our capability to do that. We're absolutely determined to take this on. We're removing officers more quickly. We're tackling these issues. And meanwhile, day in and day out, I've got the officers of the force who are coming forward and they are absolutely determined to tackle this. The vast majority are as embarrassed and angered by this as I am, and we want to make a difference.
OK, well, that was certainly the phrase that was used in an English dictionary. If you want to take umbrage at that, I'm not sure whether you do or not, but there we go. Baroness Casey pinned the primary blame on past leadership. You were previously Assistant Commissioner and held very senior roles at the Met between 2011 and 2018. What responsibility do you accept?
I think all of us who've led in policing need to reflect on why we didn't see the scale of this earlier, and I'm certainly doing that. As I say, I've had 4 years out of policing, and I've come back because I'm absolutely determined that we need to tackle this. I think you'll find I've been more outspoken on the need for police reform over the last 6 months than probably any police leader for decades. So we are already putting in place a turnaround plan. We're making big strides already. Louise's recommendations will massively influence our thinking and the plans we have ahead to reform for policing for London, as we strengthen our work in neighbourhoods, as we improve the response to victims, and as we tackle the toxic individuals in the organisation needed removing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound as though you are questioning your position this morning, or considering it.
I came back 6 months ago to tackle these issues, and I've been absolutely clear that that's what's required. And I think Louise Casey has backed the fact that we're up for this.
Well, no, she hasn't. She said that she puts the primary blame at past leadership, and that's you.
She's also spoken about the change in tone that the new leadership has brought in the organisation. We're absolutely determined to deliver the transformation required. That's what I returned policing for, and that's what we're doing. As I say, we're building neighbourhood policing, we're strengthening our response to victims, and we're rooting out these individuals who've undermined us so badly. We're sacking officers at a greater rate, and the information's coming from our own staff who want this to change.
OK, we only have a limited amount of time. 34,000 police officers. How confident can you be that among those ranks there aren't others this morning that are capable of rape and murder of innocent young women on the streets of London?
We are systematically going through.
No,
we're
that's not my
revetting all of
question,
our
Sir
people.
Mark. Please
looking
answer my
against criminal
questions if you would.
So-
How confident can you be that you don't have other rapists in your ranks?
I'm doing everything possible to identify if there's any risk of that whatsoever. We're revetting all of our officers, we're reviewing all the old cases of allegations against officers. I'm doing everything possible to spot anybody and remove them who poses any risk to the public.
Are there still officers working for you this morning that are guilty of domestic abuse and indecent exposure?
There's one reported in the Daily Mail recently who's guilty of indecent exposure. That's why we're reviewing all of our cases. We're bringing a new vetting method to remove officers who fail vetting. I've been asking the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister for new powers to improve police regulations to make it easier to deal with these issues. We are absolutely determined to tackle the toxic individuals who remain in this organisation who shouldn't be here. There's no doubt about that whatsoever.
So you acknowledge, Sir Mark, there are others. There could very well be others.
There are toxic individuals in this organisation who are in the process of removing now.
OK, who could be responsible for domestic abuse, indecent exposure, perhaps even rape?
I'm not going to get into ifs, buts and maybes. We've got toxic individuals, some of whom who've got concerns about their predatory behaviour. We've got people suspended, we've got people under investigation. We are rooting them out of this organisation.
How many?
I've committed by the end of March to give an update on the work we've been doing on this, and I'll publish that then.
OK, so you can give us an idea at this stage of how many you're looking at?
I'm going to give a full update on that at the end of March. We're working through this work systematically. Let
me ask you an easier one. Sir Mark. Will you disband the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Unit, as suggested by the report? Cousins and Carrick, both members of that.
So the report says we should effectively disband it. We're going to do everything possible to reform and change Parliamentary
not going to disband it?
Command as much as is possible. I have to protect Parliament tomorrow. I have to protect embassies tomorrow. I can't just take all those officers away and stop doing that. We're going to do everything possible to change the culture in that department, and with the vigour and radicalism that Louise Casey is calling for.
So not following the recommendations of the report, then?
We're absolutely following the recommendations. We've discussed this with...
Louise Casey's saying disband it. You're saying you can't.
She says effectively disband it, so you're not quoting the report correctly. She says effectively disband it. And she wants us to be as radical as we possibly can do in changing it. She absolutely said, I've had this conversation with her face to face. She absolutely understands that we can't break it up overnight and still protect Parliament, but she wants us to be as radical as we can be in changing the culture and changing the people in there. We've already brought in new leadership. At a senior level, half the sergeants are different. We're bringing in lots of new recruits into it to change the culture. There's a lot going on there, and we're going to reflect on Louise's recommendations, see what more we can do.
Yeah, reflect on them, OK. Not necessarily adopt them. As Met Police Commissioner, you have to rely on the policing. If I may, Sir Mark, as Metropolitan Police Commissioner, you must rely on policing 9 million Londoners by consent. The report says that Peelian principle is at risk. If that is the case, how can Londoners feel safe with you in charge this morning?
So I have tens of thousands of officers going out day after day. They're out there today protecting Londoners. They're arresting dangerous people, they're protecting the vulnerable, and they're doing a fantastic job. This report is deeply worrying, and you're right. Policing by consent in London has been damaged by recent events. Trust has declined over the last 4 years. That's what we're here to do, to turn that round. Londoners can have absolute confidence that we're here to turn that round and improve the service that they get, which they rightly deserve.
How can they be when you say you don't know whether you've got rapists, murderers, people that abuse women within your ranks, and you can't even talk in more detail about that this morning? We have to wait for yet another report.
I said, I'm absolutely clear we're doing everything we possibly can do to look back, because those cases, those awful cases of Cousins and... So those awful cases of Cousins and Carrick, what they show is that our systems have not been strong enough. at spotting toxic individuals, dangerous individuals within our ranks. And for that reason, we've taken everyone's details in the organisation and we're working for you, reviewing them against all the national police databases.
But she
That's a
blamed
big
past
piece of work
leadership, and that's you, Sir Mark. That's you. You were there at the force for years. That's you. You're the past leadership. You have to accept responsibility for this and fall on your sword.
We have gone through all the details of all of our officers and reviewing them against national police databases. We're looking at past allegations to make sure they haven't been badly investigated and we haven't made mistakes and there are people who shouldn't be here. We're working through it systematically so Londoners can be happy that we've looked for every possible risk in the organisation and remove those individuals. We're removing organisations...
I'm going to put myself out on a limb and say I don't think many Londoners are going to be very happy with you this morning, sir.
Well, I hope they see that we're absolutely resolved and we're determined to take these issues on that are identified in this report.
OK. I'm going to be talking to your boss a bit later on. Let's see what he has to say. For now, thanks very much indeed for joining us on the programme. I know a difficult day ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.